My first night bartending at a nightclub. I was very excited. This was everything I dreamed of coming out of bartending school. I never worked at a nightclub before, but no one really knew that because I kept it a secret. I didn't want anyone to know that I was a newbie. So I put on my favorite outfit. I double-checked, triple-checked that I had my bartending equipment. Then I sprayed on some cologne, took one last look in the mirror, kissed my girlfriend goodbye, and got in my car and headed to Good Bar. It was a Sunday night, hip-hop night, and I was working with two veteran bartenders, Michael and Daisy. They were well-experienced bartenders, and the ones I didn't want knowing that I was a newbie. So I took everything I learned at bartending school and my previous bartending jobs and applied it this night in hopes that I would prove my worth and that I wouldn't screw anything up. The crowd I was working for was quite demanding, and for a bartender as new as I was, it was a bit intimidating too. I was afraid if I gave the customers their drinks, they wouldn't pay me. So before I handed over the drinks, I requested payment. I went from one customer to the next, making drinks and awkwardly holding them in my hands until they paid me. This went on for a good part of my shift until the DJ reached over the bar and told me, "You know, it's really not good customer service holding on to the drinks like that." I laughed it off, and realizing that he was right, I stopped doing that. Like I said, it was my first night working at a nightclub, and I didn't want to screw anything up and make a bad impression. And at the time, if someone did decide not to pay me, I wouldn't know how to react. As the night progressed, and with my new method of doing things in mind, I was preparing and selling drinks back to back. Then, I made some cocktails for a woman and her friends, but when I went to give them their drinks, I lost the women in the large crowd. At that point, I made a big mistake. I sat the drinks down in front of my register, then took another drink order, and when I inputted the payment, the register drawer slammed open, spilling the drinks all over me. Afraid that my boss and manager were watching, I hastily wiped down the counter and my shirt with a rag. As I finished wiping my shirt, I was greeted by the woman who asked, "Where's my drinks?" For a second, I was so pissed. If she would have just taken the drinks in the first place, I wouldn't have spilled them on myself. But knowing that it was ultimately my fault for setting them down in front of my register, I remained calm and remade them. At the end of the shift, the other bartenders and I accumulated our tips and split them. We didn't make much, but I didn't care. And at the time, I didn't know any better. I was just ecstatic to be there. And looking back to this night, despite these couple of mishaps, I had so much fun, I would have worked for free. Since that night, I've bartended for a bountiful amount of parties, gained a lot of experience, watched how my superiors have handled themselves and learned from them, and now I'm a primetime bartender/manager. Thank you for listening. This is Danny from Nightlife Bartenders. Have a wonderful day.
We